Hello to all my DIY mechanics. In this video I'll show you how to build a press out tool for the subframe bushings so that you don't have to struggle with sawing and prying out the pressed in metal ring. You may already have the materials you need at home, or you can buy them at any hardware store. You need a screw that is at least twice as long as the bushing you want to press out, or is long enough for the bushing to be pulled out and still have room for the counterplate and the nut. What exactly I mean by this will come clear in the course of this video. The bolt should be at least an M10 or even better an M12, as it is subject to considerable forces. I used a long extension nut as the nut. A normal one would also work fine, but as I was working with the impact wrench, I was a bit more flexible with the extension nut in terms of the screw length. Then you need two washers with the same diameter as the bushings. These also have to withstand a lot of force, so don't use the thinnest one. Last but not least, you need something to counter it with. I sawed a piece of flat steel that I had lying around at home and drilled a hole in it. You could also use one or two really big washers here. The important thing is that they are big enough to counter against the frame. Let's take a look at the tool in action. Here I want to swap the subframe bushing on my Saab 9.5. The full video on that is now linked above. The bushing sits inside the frame from up here to here. The outwardly bent part of the bushing points downwards, so the bushing can only be pushed out downwards. This part of the subframe is basically empty, and we have this area to pull the bushing into before we hit the counterplate. This is enough space to detach the bushing so that it can be pulled out. If we don't have any free space in the frame into which we can pull the bushing, such as here with the middle subframe bushing, we need a kind of spacer between the frame and the counterplate. A piece of metal tube with a matching diameter is ideal for this. However, I didn't have any of those. I sawed a ring out of a wooden board. It can't withstand much force, but luckily for me the middle subframe bushing on my car doesn't have a metal ring like the other ones, but a plastic surround. I was able to pull these out with my wooden spacer. You may need to find a sturdier spacer ring, but I think it's clear how it works and what's important. Pressing in new bushings is theoretically also possible with this tool, but you have to be careful not to tilt the bushings. Instead of pressing in original replacement bushings, I decided to use polyurethane bushings as they are much easier to install. Well, that's all there is to say about my self-made bushing press-out tool. I hope this video was helpful. I would really appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription. And if you would like to see in detail how I replaced the subframe bushings on my Saab 9.5 and what you have to know before the repair, check out my other two videos on this subject. Then I'll see you right away. Until then, bye.